Okay, good start. Let's rewind. That was me making a TARDIS noise in case you couldn't tell. Okay, anyway, hi! Today I'm going to be reviewing And We Stay by Jenny Hubbard. Now, I don't have the book to hold up because it is an ebook, and it's an ARC which I received from NetGalley. I did a video where I talked about how I signed up for NetGalley, and I'm going to be reviewing some advanced copies of books, which is exciting. That's exciting. So, this book comes out... Let me make sure. Alright, this book comes out January 28th, and it is Jenny Hubbard's second novel, I believe, but do not quote me on that because I did not look it up. But I read her last novel, which came out, I don't know if it was last year or the year before. It was semi-recently. Her last one was called Paper Covers Rock, and, well, I'm not going to give you my thoughts on it. Obviously, I liked it enough to want to read her next one. I've been really excited waiting for this book to come out, and then when I got an advance copy, well, that was just great. So here are my thoughts. These are going to be not very cohesive. I haven't had enough of this today. I'm a little tired. I don't know. But I am going to post a written review and put that up on my blog, so the link to that will be down in the TARDIS. It's bigger on the inside. Okay, so first I'm going to tell you what this book is about. So this is about a girl named Emily who is sent off to boarding school after her boyfriend kills himself in front of her. And at this school she encounters the ghostly presence of Emily Dickinson, and this, along with some new friends, helps her to heal. That's my shortened summary. So quickly, one thing I liked about this book was the boarding school setting, and it's interesting because her last book, Paper Covers Rock, also took place at a boarding school. So, I don't know, that's one of those little things, like I'm a sucker for boarding school stories. There's something about it that's like, I guess, it solves the solution of like giving the kids free will to do what they'd like because their parents aren't there. They can still get in trouble, but anyway, I'm going to stop talking about that. But I liked that aspect of the book for sure, just the setting. I like boarding school stories. So like I said, this is going to be random. The stuff I liked is going to be like random. We're just gonna start. So when she goes to boarding school, her roommate is a girl named Katie, and I really liked Katie's character. To me, I don't know, she just was pretty memorable. I think mostly because she really surprised me. Because in the first scene where we see Katie, I completely expected her to be like that cliched, annoying, superficial, nosy roommate. But does that make sense? And then we get to know her and find out like she's actually really cool, and she turns out to be a really good friend to Emily. So I really liked her character a lot. And then the main thing I liked is the writing. I mean, I really enjoyed the writing style in this book. It was it was pretty literary compared to a lot of other young adult novels, I feel. And I guess that has something to do with the fact that it was in third person. I'm just thinking of this as I'm saying it. Pretty sure. Yeah, it was in third person. And it just has a very narrated feel. And I think sometimes that might not be a good thing, but in this sense, it just contributed to the overall tone of the book. It's a very sad story. At least when Emily goes to this boarding school, she's in a very sad place. This tragedy just happened to her, and she's trying to like deal with that. Not to mention, after it happens, she's just taken out of her home and sent away. So she's not a very happy girl when this story starts. And the whole thing with Emily Dickinson, I don't know how much I liked that aspect of the book, but it's this little supernatural. I think she doesn't actually see ghosts or anything. She just like feels the presents, these little things happen, and she just feels a connection to Emily Dickinson, because I guess Emily Dickinson went to this boarding school. Maybe. I could be making that up. I should have looked this up. But the Emily Dickinson house where she lived is right near the campus. So Emily Dickinson lived in Amherst, Massachusetts, which is where this boarding school is. And I feel like the third person and the writing style gave the book kind of a, at times, eerie tone, at times, like, sad. It just worked. I am doing a really bad job, I'm sorry, of explaining right now. But I really enjoyed the writing style. And there's one more thing that, plot-wise, I want to talk about that I enjoyed, but I'm going to save that until the end of the review because it's a little bit spoilery, that way in case you want to stop watching. So now we're going to move on to what I didn't necessarily enjoy as much about the book. The first thing is totally a personal preference, but the character of Emily is a poet. I probably should have mentioned that. She is a poet, so she feels this connection to Emily Dickinson when she ends up like living in this town where Emily Dickinson lived, and she gets a book of Emily Dickinson's poetry. And so she's reading Emily Dickinson's poems as she's writing her own and finding connections and stuff like that. Now, I thought that was a really, really cool premise for the book. This girl named Emily finding this connection with Emily Dickinson. So one thing is that there was pieces of Emily Dickinson's poems throughout the book, and that was totally cool. But then at the end of every chapter, and sometimes I think in the middle of chapters, we got some of Emily, the protagonist's poems. Like I said, this is just a personal preference. Some of the poems, a couple of them, I thought were like really good, like in their own right, like even not having anything to do with this book, they were really good. But for the most part, I can see why the author included these poems, for sure. I mean, the girl's a poet, and I get it. And what she did is she basically used the poems to reveal what the narrator, I keep saying narrator, but it's third person. I'm not used to third person YA. What the protagonist is feeling and kind of reveal some of her secrets. And through the poems basically sum up the chapter, I mean, in an interesting way where they add like another dimension to it. So I feel like I shouldn't even say I disliked them because it's really not fair, because they were definitely there for a reason, but just personally, I'm usually not a fan of something like poetry being included in a novel, mainly because if I wanted to read poetry, then I would read a novel in verse. I don't know, I just personally, I just found myself when I got to the end of the chapter just like quickly skimming through the poem so I could get to the next chapter. So that's just my opinion. But the biggest, I guess, question I had about this book, like I said, I really liked the writing, and I liked the setup, and I liked the characters a lot. I actually forgot to mention, I talked about Katie, but I liked Emily, the protagonist, a whole lot. Like, I really, really liked her. I thought she was a good character. But, so I liked the characters, I liked the writing, I liked the story, I liked the plot all the way through. Everything I read, I really, really enjoyed reading. But my one criticism is when I got to the end, and even before I got to the end, because obviously, you know, I know how far I am, I know how many pages are left, so even when I got like a little more than halfway through, I started realizing this didn't feel like a complete story. Like, everything I read I enjoyed, but at the end, I kind of thought about it, and it felt like I had read 50 pages of a novel instead of a whole novel. It felt like everything that happened could have been the first act of the book. I wanted more. That's the only thing I can really criticize about this book, and maybe other people wouldn't feel this way. I don't think I've ever experienced this feeling after reading a book. But I guess the reason that I'm feeling this way is because Emily is dealing with a lot of stuff when she arrives at this boarding school. And then she makes a couple friends, and she, like, connects with Emily Dickinson and that whole ghosty thing. And And so then at the end of the story, she's happy. I mean, it's not like a happily ever after. Like, she's still got, you know, her issues, but you can see that she's, like, ready to heal. And I guess I felt like not enough happened in the story to evoke that change, that character growth in her, to evoke healing. Not much happened. Like, the climactic scene could have happened in the first 20 pages of a novel, and then lots of other stuff could have happened after that. Like, I feel like the whole book was just setting up this really interesting story that could have gone somewhere else, that could have gone further, and it just didn't. So, to me, that just fell a little flat. But that being said, I felt that way because I really enjoyed the story that I read. I wanted more of it, honestly. So, that was just a little bit disappointing. But, I mean, if I'm being honest, like, that was just a little bit disappointing. But like I said, I had fun. I enjoyed reading the entire novel. So, yeah. So I just wanted to add one more thing that I really liked about this novel, but it is a tad spoilery. It does not spoil the ending or anything. It's just something that you don't know from reading the description, and it's hinted at and you don't find out until a little ways into the book. So I know, like, sometimes I don't mind that, but sometimes I just want to go in blind. So if you're one of those people who doesn't want to know, like, anything that will be revealed during the book, then just stop me right here. Go away now. Go. Bye. Go. Okay. Okay, so one thing I really, really, really liked about this book has to do with the subject matter. We know from the beginning that this girl's boyfriend, he goes to school and then he pulls a gun on her, but he doesn't end up shooting her. He ends up shooting himself. Now, I'm not going to go into the details of why. It's one of those things that you start to learn gradually more details until you get the whole story, which I really enjoyed that aspect of the book as well. I thought that was handled very well. But one thing we also learn as we're learning those details is that Emily got pregnant, and she told her parents, and her parents were forcing her, but she kind of wanted to too, but forcing her to have an abortion. And this is part of the reason that he did what he did. He wasn't happy about that choice. So, when she gets to the boarding school, she's not only dealing with watching this boy kill himself in front of her, she's dealing with what she did with the abortion that she had. Now, this is a personal preference. I feel like a lot of people might get really angry at this and really disagree with me, but for me, I really respected the way the author handled this subject matter. Because, yes, it is definitely something that Emily has to deal with over the course of the book, but what I mean to say is nothing, like, terribly tragic. That is tragic. Oh, okay, I probably shouldn't have even brought this up. Like I said, she doesn't die. She does this thing, and then she goes on and lives her life. Now, she has to deal with it, and she has to accept the choice she made, and I'm not saying, like, this was, like, glorifying abortions. Of course it wasn't. But I think this is the kind of subject matter that's not handled very often at all in young adult literature. And the fact is, whether you want to believe this or not, and whether parents want their kids reading about this or not, the fact is, teenage girls get pregnant in high school all the damn time. All the time. And you know what? Sometimes they have abortions. That's a fact. That is just a fact if you are living in this country. So, I feel like we can show so much. We've gotten to a place in young adult literature where we can discuss any topic. We can talk about drugs. We can talk about sex. I've read books about teenage prostitutes. So why can't we talk about something like this? I think, I don't know, I was really impressed when I realized that this was an aspect of the story. So kudos to Jenny Hubbard for tackling something so difficult and sensitive and controversial. And I think she handled it really well. She handled how Emily deals with that really realistically. And yeah. That's all. Okay, guys, so Like I said, And We Stay comes out January 28th, which is just in a few weeks. So if this sounded good to you, you should check it out. And thank you, NetGalley, for providing me with this. And that's all. Okay. I like you. We're friends. Bye. Go read. Yep. Do it. Okay. Bye.